We've been here since early morning, praying for a miracle. Tonight at 9 p.m., the family made the heartbreaking decision to remove life support. 3 college students, full of life and with bright futures ahead, are gone. They were struck while trying to cross a street just blocks from their university. The driver, police say, was also a college student, allegedly speeding in a Porsche. After hitting the victims, he didn't stop. He didn't help. He drove away to call his father. In court, his lawyers said the young man panicked, didn't know what to do, and later walked back to the police station. But the emotions in the courtroom were overwhelming. Families who received the call no parent ever wants stood face to face with the person accused of taking their children's lives. Prosecutors called his actions reckless, thoughtless, and a complete disregard for human life, demanding the highest bail. This tragedy unfolded near the University of Arizona campus on a Thursday night. A moment of carelessness turned into a nightmare, leaving 3 young lives lost and families shattered forever. Now I want you to meet 21-year-old Katya Castillo Mendoza. She was an aspiring lawyer with big dreams ahead of her. And this is 21-year-old Sophia Trotel. She worked at the student radio station and also volunteered at the county sheriff's office. With her was her boyfriend, 22-year-old Josiah Santos. He loved performing and often appeared in student theater productions. The 3 friends were simply crossing the street in a crosswalk near the university when everything changed in seconds. The speed limit in that area was just 30 miles per hour, and it wasn't a highway or a busy roadway. It was a student area lined with apartments, restaurants, and campus buildings. Yet authorities say the suspect sped through that crosswalk in a Porsche far faster than the limit. All 3 students were struck in a horrific impact, leaving a scene of devastation. In court, a family attorney said there may also be evidence of illegal substances in the driver's system at the time of the crash. Prosecutors argued this makes him both a flight risk and a danger to the community, demanding either extremely high bail or no bail at all. Investigators are still uncovering details, but there are concerns that drugs or alcohol may have played a role. Meanwhile, the suspect's own lawyer mentioned his family's significant resources, raising even more questions. 3 promising futures gone. 3 families broken. All because of one reckless moment. Sophia and Josiah died at the scene. Josiah's parents later shared that he sang, he danced, he acted, and every time he stepped on stage, they proudly whispered that was their baby. They wrote that Sophia was another bright, beautiful soul who loved him fiercely, and together they were unstoppable. Sophia had just turned 21, only weeks before the crash. Katya was rushed to the hospital, where her family fought for days, praying for a miracle. But on November 1st, they faced the decision no parent should ever face. They removed her from life support as her family stood by, shattered and heartbroken. A GoFundMe described Katya as one of the sweetest, kindest souls, someone whose warmth and light touched everyone she met. 3 young lives, 3 dreams, 3 futures gone in an instant. The alleged driver, 19-year-old Luis Jean Artal, appeared in court facing 3 counts of second-degree murder and 1 count of leaving the scene of an accident involving death. He showed little emotion, sitting beside his attorney, mostly looking down as grieving family members spoke. Katya's sister called from the ICU after saying goodbye to her sister forever and told the court that losing Katya broke their family. She said he didn't just take her life, he took a piece of all of ours and begged the judge for the highest bail possible. The suspect was driving a 2019 Porsche Boxster. Those cars can cost around $60,000, and the driver was only 19. Records show he had no criminal history, and this was the first time he ever faced serious charges. Yet now he stands accused of 3 counts of second-degree murder. Authorities believe he may have had drugs or alcohol in his system when the crash happened. But what made this even more disturbing was what he did moments after impact. Instead of stopping to check on the victims, he allegedly sped away. According to his lawyer, he panicked, went back to his apartment, called his father, and then walked to the police station only after speaking with him. His father reportedly told him to go back and find the police, no matter how. Rather than helping the students he had just struck, he left that scene behind. Prosecutors say his family appears to have significant wealth. He is from San Francisco, and his father reportedly owns a successful business. His attorney argued that this means he is not a flight risk. But for the families left grieving, financial privilege means nothing against the weight of their loss. 3 lives gone forever and a community left searching for answers. The defense argued that the suspect was a student with a life rooted in the community. They said he had an apartment near campus and that his father flew in to be present at the hearing. If he lost his current place, his family was ready to rent another apartment, and his mother would move from California to stay with him. According to his attorney, there was 0 flight risk. He insisted the young man would remain in the state, attend every court hearing, and face the process. The lawyer emphasized that the family had dedicated significant resources hiring their legal team and making sure he stayed local. They claimed this support system proved he would not run. But for the grieving families, hearing about his comfort and support while their children lie in graves must have been unbearable. The defense also said the suspect turned himself in less than an hour after the crash. But for the families, that hour was everything. In those critical minutes, 3 students lay dying, while the driver sought advice instead of help. The attorney acknowledged that he would face consequences, yet they asked the judge to set bond at $50,000. 3 lives lost, 3 families shattered, and now the court must decide what accountability looks like. The judge set bond at $250,000 cash. If he manages to post it, the 19-year-old will not be allowed to drive or consume alcohol or drugs while released. He also cannot have any contact with the families of the 3 victims. This hearing was emotional and tense. Family members directly confronted the suspect, describing their grief and urging the court to hold him accountable. A criminal defense attorney explained how rare it is to see such emotional testimony at a bond hearing. Usually these hearings are quick and procedural, but not this one. 3 young lives were lost, and their families stood in court fighting to make sure the person accused of killing them does not walk free easily. Meanwhile, the defense stressed the suspect's age, his family's resources, and their claim that his mother would live with him if released. They argued he is not a flight risk. But the courtroom was filled with heartbreak, anger, and disbelief, as prosecutors and loved ones reminded the judge of the devastation left behind. The suspect left 3 students dead and families shattered. Now he waits to see if he will remain behind bars as the case moves forward.
Now the hearing turned to a different debate. The defense argued something unusual. They tried to use the suspect's wealthy background as a reason to lower his bond. They claimed his family's resources meant he would stay in the state, not flee. But legal experts pointed out that normally, prosecutors argue the opposite. Wealth can help someone disappear. The defense tried to spin it as stability and support. They said his family could get him housing and his mother could move to Arizona to supervise him. His attorney insisted those resources ensured he would show up to court. But the courtroom and the nation were watching. 3 young students were gone. Public trust was on the line. Legal analysts noted that judges do consider public reaction, especially in high-profile cases with national attention. The judge knew what was at stake. The suspect came from privilege, but privilege could not outweigh the gravity of 3 lives lost. The courtroom felt the weight of justice expectations as the discussion continued. The judge had to weigh the law and the pressure of the public eye. In a case like this, every decision is magnified. 3 young students are gone, and emotions are raw. The judge must consider safety and flight risk, but also knows the country is watching. A wrong decision could shake trust. As the tragedy was discussed in court, the chilling reality was repeated. The driver hit the students, then drove away. He went home, called his father, and only then walked into a police station. The defense argued he was young, panicked, and simply didn't know what to do. But the prosecution made it clear: ignorance is not a defense. At 19, he had a legal and moral duty to stop. Instead of helping, he left 3 injured young people in the street. The legal expert explained that immaturity can be a mitigating argument, but it cannot erase responsibility. In that moment, whether he fully understood the severity or not, the damage was done. 3 futures were gone, and families left in unimaginable pain. The courts will now determine whether panic excuses leaving lives behind on the pavement. The defense tried to frame the suspect as a young kid who made a terrible mistake. They argued it was a tragic accident, not an intentional act. In a bond hearing, they didn't deny he was behind the wheel or that he called his father after leaving the scene. They focused on emotion and tried to secure the lowest bond possible. But in doing so, they also locked themselves into a narrative. By admitting he was the driver, they lost the ability to ever argue someone else was involved. A legal expert explained that defense attorneys must choose their words carefully. In cases like this, once you tell the court he was behind the wheel, you cannot later claim otherwise. The attorney likely realized any alternate suspect strategy had no chance. Instead, they came to court in a humble tone, hoping honesty and remorse would help. But for the families who lost 3 young lives, no strategy, no explanation can bring back what was taken. The focus now turns to the courtroom, where this 19-year-old will face the full weight of the justice system for a moment that changed so many lives forever. The suspect left the scene and only returned nearly an hour later. That 1 hour matters a lot. The defense says he panicked, drove home, and then walked into the police station after talking to his father. But prosecutors and the victims' families point out something critical. If he had stayed there, officers could have tested him immediately. They could have known whether alcohol or drugs played a role. Instead, he disappeared for almost an hour, and during that time, anything could have happened. He could have sobered up. He could have consumed something after the crash. There is no clear way to know. That creates a major challenge for both sides in court. If prosecutors want to argue he was intoxicated while driving, they now must prove he was impaired at the moment of the crash, not sometime later. And if the defense tries to argue he wasn't impaired at all, they face the question, why did he leave and not call for help? That hour gap hangs heavy over the case. It leaves doubt, suspicion, and a painful question. If he had stayed and called for help, would any of those students have survived? 3 lives were lost. One choice made everything worse. The investigation now zeroes in on that missing hour and what truly happened during it. Even the defense doesn't deny he was the driver. Now their focus shifts to what comes next. In a case like this, lawyers look at every possible angle. But the idea of another suspect is gone. And the victims were in a crosswalk, making it nearly impossible to argue fault belongs elsewhere. So the defense strategy becomes mitigation. They will likely pursue mental health evaluations, substance abuse evaluations, and try to show this was out of character. They will search for experts to say he is not a danger to the community. They will try to paint him as a young man who made one catastrophic mistake. But the image of a 19-year-old in a Porsche calling his father instead of calling for help will weigh heavy in court. Most kids his age don't drive cars worth $60,000. Prosecutors may frame him as someone who thought he was untouchable, speeding through a college area and then fleeing to protect himself. Jurors may look at him and see privilege and carelessness. The defense knows they must fight that perception, because to many, watching this case, 3 promising lives were lost while a wealthy teenager drove away, made a phone call, and tried to shield himself from the consequences. Now a jury will one day decide whether panic and youth can excuse a moment that changed everything.
Defense now knows it must get ahead of the rich kid narrative and show redeeming qualities. They will investigate any philanthropic contributions or community work that can humanize him. They will gather evidence of good character to balance the jury's impression of privilege. As a college student, he is young, and the defense will emphasize that in mitigation. If families sue civilly, the defendant will be the primary target for wrongful death claims. Attorneys will explore whether parental assets can be reached through shared investments or beneficiary arrangements. Lawyers will also review doctrines like the family car rule and negligent entrustment to see if parents could be exposed. The defense will prepare mitigation evidence to use in negotiations and at trial. Plaintiffs will look for ways to enlarge a civil settlement or verdict to ensure accountability. If handled well, a civil case could have a substantial impact on the family financially and symbolically.
The prosecutor charged him with second-degree murder, a bold move for a case involving a car crash. The defense will argue he never intended to kill anyone that night. He wasn't hunting victims. He made reckless choices that turned deadly. In some states, this could be charged as manslaughter. But in Arizona, prosecutors are pushing the theory of extreme indifference to human life. This charge is usually seen in cases like firing into a crowd without targeting anyone specific, but still causing death. Here, prosecutors will argue he sped through a pedestrian area, possibly under the influence, knowing the risk to human life, and ignored it. They will say he acted so recklessly, it is equal to extreme indifference. The defense will counter that he is a young man who panicked, not a killer. They will push for a lesser charge, arguing this was a tragic accident, not murder. But 3 people are gone, and the law will now decide whether his reckless decisions rise to the level of murder or manslaughter.
The prosecutor's approach is unusual for second-degree murder, and time will tell if the charge holds. This case is in its early stages, and investigators are still piecing together details about intent and impairment. 3 young lives were lost, steps away from the University of Arizona. Families are grieving, a community is shaken, and a 19-year-old now faces the possibility of decades behind bars. As the legal process continues, he is scheduled to return to court for a preliminary hearing. The world will be watching to see whether this tragedy is treated as a reckless accident or as a crime driven by extreme disregard for human life. 3 futures ended in seconds. Now the justice system must determine what comes next for the young man accused of causing it all.